I think you should introduce us today.
Why?
Because
You've got your stick down now.
But what's your stick? Go.
Oh.
You do it. Do it. Do it.
I'm nervous.
Don't think. Do it. Do it.
I can't not think. I have to think. Thank you all for joining us. This is your I'm trying to say what you say.
No, say what you would say.
Thank you all for joining us. I can't do it. I'm so nervous.
Welcome back to another episode of To Become Family. This is This is episode 103, and we're going to talk about our compatibility and all of our compatibility issues. In today's episode, the reason I thought of that is because one of our very first episodes that we recorded back when this was pre-canon with the Pope, R.I.P., was Does Compatibility Matter? And because that's been downloaded so much, I thought that might be something people want to hear about.
Yeah, topic, yeah.
But we're not just going to talk about what we think about our compatibility, but we are specifically going to talk about and reflect on Jordan Peterson's, what's the test called? It's like the Big Five. We took a personality test together.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about, and it's like through Jordan Peterson's website, understandmyself.com. But one of the cool things is that you could take it with your spouse and then you connect the accounts and it kind of gives you a rundown of your relationship and why you're going to get divorced. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't say that. Well,
but it kind of talks about how your traits complement or butt up against
each other. What's the opposite of compliment? Butt up. Butt up. That's phase 3.
That was bad.
Was it? They don't even know what I'm saying.
Compliment or what is the opposite? Disagree? I don't know.
Insult.
There we go.
So what I want to do is go through. So we have to make sure to look up here. You might have to get closer to this mic. We're using this mic instead of the other one because the other one, like whenever we touch the table, you could hear it. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
Like a giant walking.
But you're hard to. You're like a bulldog. Like you posture.
I want a bulldog.
I know you really do. I shouldn't have said it.
I want a bulldog, but
you get.
So we are going to look at. So Monica and I took this. How long ago? No, I think it was December.
Probably about a month ago.
Okay, so a month and a half. It was like December. It was before Christmas.
Was it?
No, I don't know. I think so. I thought I saw like December something when I was like looking through to see what our results were.
Okay.
So, well, first on personality tests, I think they can be a good tool to use for your relationship. I tend to not like them for the most part because I feel like they try to put you in a particular box of like, this is the way you are. And because of this, like the one that comes to mind is like the Myers-Briggs one that you find online that says like, oh, you're a leprechaun. You're a, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like
a leprechaun.
No, like they give you like titles, like you're the safe keeper. Do you mean?
No.
Yeah, like I'm the mediator. That was the one like I got like INFJ. Do you remember?
I don't remember that. I just remember the initials. I thought you were thinking about like enneagrams.
No. There's they have leprechauns.
They have leprechauns and unicorns and I don't know.
No, the Myers-Briggs one, they have so like for every like letter combination they have like a title for it.
I didn't know that.
So the mediator was one of them. The other one's like teacher. Leprechaun is I was being facetious. But there was like different things for it. I didn't like that one because I felt like when you read through the results, it was kind of like putting you in a box of saying like, this is the way you are. And because you're this way, this is the career paths that you're going to go through or that are best for you. These are the, it became like very specific. And I'm like, you don't know me, right? You can't say.
That doesn't seem very mediator of you.
No, those things bother me. And compared to,
and then I think a lot of people can use that as like an excuse for, well,
right,
I'm a leprechaun, so of course I can't be a unicorn.
Right. Yeah. And you can be whatever you want. This is America. So so what I like about the Big Five, which is I don't really know much about this personality test. I kind of stopped.
Friends of ours suggested doing it because they did it and
they talked about it. It was cool. So we did it, and I think afterwards, after we're done reflecting on like some of it, we're not going to go through all the results, but like some of them, I think I think couples will be drawn to it because it's only like $10 to do
together. Yeah.
together, so it's not super expensive. And I think it's worth it because you kind of, again, this personality test compared to other ones, it kind of gives you outlines of why you are the way you are, or that you are the way you are, but then it kind of gives you areas of strength and areas of weakness that you can work on. So like it's tailored in that way of like, if you're weak here, these are things you can work on.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's not like this is the way you are forever, but it's like, here's ways that you can try to compensate or work with that. But then I really, like you said, I liked that they then took both of our results and mushed them together and were like, this is where your relationship could have areas of strength, and this is where your relationship might have areas of conflict because you're in opposite directions on this personality component. I don't know, but
well, because I think it's important too, in at least like, so maybe any time in marriage, but I know early in marriage or before you get married, when you're engaged, that's called dating. When you're thinking like, am I
needing one another,
is this the person I want to marry? I do know that I do know that compatibility is something that people consider.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know if there's any like correct formula of how compatibility works. And I think our test results kind of show that, because you would assume either you are the same for some things, or like you have to be the complete opposite for other things. And I just think it's a lot more intricate in that when you put two lives together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's those cliches like opposites attract. I don't know what the cliche is for when you're the same person, but like that. Yeah.
Birds of a feather.
Birds of, is that it?
Nope. I just said the first thing.
I just believe you.
That's
gullible is one of my personality traits, apparently.
No, well, you haven't read all of the things I read.
I mean, I did earlier, but you've highlighted certain ones that you want to.
I highlighted once, and then I was like, I'm not highlighting anymore. We're just gonna read the whole thing.
All right.
So we'll jump into it. And yeah, hopefully it's a good conversation. We'll see. So I think we should read some of it and then reflect on it as we do. So the 5 components of I should remember this. Do you remember the 5 components of personality?
Absolutely not.
Oh, good thing I'm around. It's not here. Great. Okay. Let's look that up really quick. Can you hear me clickety clacking here? I took that from Gomer. Okay. The big 5 personality traits are not.
It's right there.
Is it? Is that 5?
Yes.
Read it.
All right. So the big 5: extroversion, agreeableness, openness, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. Okay.
And the ones that we're going to work on or go over today, we're just going to go over 2, agreeableness and conscientiousness, because I think those are the ones that highlight our differences the most.
Our incompatibility.
Well, what you would assume. I don't know. Maybe it is. You just like to. Just put up with it because you're so agreeable. You can't say no.
Right.
We'll see. We'll analyze. So the first one is agreeableness. And in this personality test itself, it separates agreeableness into 2 different categories: compassion and politeness. So overall, I want you to read what agreeableness is first, and then we're going to say what our scores were.
Okay.
All right.
Agreeableness is a big 5 personality trait associated with how people weigh their own interests against those of others. Simply put, agreeableness is how much you pay attention and care about other people's feelings, needs, and desires. Agreeable people are kind, nurturing, compliant, and trusting. Disagreeable people are competitive, tough, blunt, and skeptical.
Okay. And so Renzo's score for agreeableness is, and this is percentile, I scored in the 43rd percentile for agreeableness, and Monica scored in the
94th percentile.
So you are clearly more agreeable than I am.
Yes. Well, and it's funny because when you first say that you got 43, I was like, wow, that's higher than I thought it would be. But I think what I've come to learn about you is you have your opinions and then you have your choices of behavior. So I think you are less agreeable in your mind and opinions, but then you still make choices to be nice.
No, so it's interesting. So like when you look at our results, so like I said, the agreeableness is broken up into compassion and politeness. You and I both scored very high in compassion.
Okay.
So like I do love people. I do love people. So
don't always like them.
I love people, and I take care of people, and I do want people's good. I do will good for people. So I think that's why we're very similar there. but then politeness is where we differ big time. But so just on surface level, though, agreeableness, I think this is where like it really lays out like the differences in how we see the world, and how we may behave differently within our relationship, which I think is super interesting. And you tell me if you think this is true or not.
You've highlighted it in bright yellow.
Okay, so this is
this the part?
This is the part that I was like, oh man. Okay, so this is like it's reading it to me, right? Because I'm the one that like opened the test. So for myself, in terms of behavioral roles and the difference in agreeableness for us, it says you will tend to see your partner as a bit naive, oversympathetic, and easily taken advantage of. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for believing the first one. You're not. You're a very intelligent person, and you just love people, and you're nicer to them than I am. But like
But that one you're always warning me of, easily taken advantage of. You have to assume that they don't mean you're good, like that they're trying to trick you.
Yes, when you're in a dark alley, absolutely. Like you're
or at the grocery store, a well-lit grocery store.
The bad part of town.
We don't have one of those in the town we live in.
No, but like there's it, yeah. And that's where like we're very different people. And like this has been such a source of disagreement within our relationship for the last, how long have we been together? 17 years. 17 years.
Yeah.
Like we've just argued a lot about that, of just like the way I was brought up to, because my dad was a police officer, so like part of it is that like I learned to see the world in a certain way.
Sure.
But also
in
I think
a distrusting way.
Sure. Accurate way, but that's the way I see the world. But then there's also I do know, like in terms of my personality, like I'm not as agreeable as a person normal. So like in general, so like if people, not that I always assume the worst of people, but like I, just observing, like see
my head and
let's
question
see what your motives are. Interesting fun fact, I remember listening to a long old YouTube channel called Vsauce, and they talked about how like different like societies that tend to be more distrustful end up becoming less like they don't because they don't play well with others, and they don't build around neighborhoods, and societies don't trust each other. They end up not being able to grow as well, and they end up dying out because there's distrust. So that's not a good thing. So I've then been like, okay, I'm not going to be always distrustful, or like I'll just learn jiu-jitsu. So then if something changes,
I'm ready.
You're ready. Always ready.
But I'll pretend to trust you.
So, and this is what it says about you. Your partner may wish you could be a little less argumentative, self-oriented, more cooperative, more likely to apologize, and kinder. I don't think you've ever said any of those things to me.
Never. I've never asked you to be less argumentative. Why do you have to question everything I say?
I'm sorry. But like, it's like a reflex, though. It's not something I consciously think of. Like, it's a reflex of like,
I've learned.
You learned to put up with it.
But it's so funny because we had talked about in the last episode or in earlier episodes, like ask culture versus guest culture, external processor versus internal processor. So I think some of this even comes from, I don't know which came first. So like what falls into which category, but I think that you're a bit argumentative because you're also an external processor. So you have this inclination towards disagreeableness, and then also you say the first thing that comes, and you're an ask culture, so you're blunt. So it's just, that's my opinion.
Well, and again, I like that this just kind of says like this is where your set level is, like this is where your factory settings started, and like now let's see like where you could
that's where your factory settings.
Like Buzz Lightyear when he has the Spanish mode in Toy Story 3. That's me. No, but like this is where your factory levels are, and like you can but like from there, like you could grow. Like I don't feel stuck in this.
Yeah, you can see this, and like,
well, and most people wouldn't. I think when even when things that you've said or have heard me describe myself, like they don't think I'm like that, and I don't think I am 99% of the time. Like I try really hard to recognize that. Like I tend to assume the worst, and I tend to be very argumentative, and I tend to just question for the sake of questioning, which makes me very good in certain settings at work. Like if we're in it's okay, I'm boring you. I'll put B-roll in there for something during the yawning part.
So late. One day. I'm sorry.
If
I'm like, Normally on the podcast, I can hide that.
You can.
But there's a
Never
camera.
again. There's cameras.
But
Now
did
there's
you see
cameras
it?
everywhere. They
Yeah.
all see you.
I like my eye twitch. I was trying to hold it.
Like I was saying though, like being argumentative and having ideas and being willing to like push back is
Yeah.
good in certain settings, but not
Sure.
always good in relationships.
Yeah.
Especially when your spouse is like, I really want to do this. And I'm just like, that's irrational.
That sounds horrible. Why? No, your favorite question. And it's always depends on tone, but you're like, why would you want to do that? Which could be read as like, why would you want to do that? Or like, tell me more. Why would you want to do that? But usually your tone is like somewhere in the middle. So you're like, are you curious or are you judgy?
So this, what this says about you
Uh-huh.
is that my partner, my beautiful bride, will be a little bit more compassionate, caring, empathetic, self-sacrificing, and polite than me. Your partner will take somewhat more account of and care for others and will be more concerned with your emotional state than you are of theirs. I care about your emotional state.
Yes, you do.
I do. I think that's a learned response though. Right? Like
I did
are you
not always
are you
care.
mad at me? Did I? Are you okay? Like I remember
Yeah.
doing that a lot dating too. We would,
Yes.
like while we were dating, I wouldn't. Yeah, man. Because like I wouldn't. I don't feel like it's as intuitive to me again, and I don't know why. It's very intuitive to me with other people, and especially like social work settings and youth ministry settings. Like I can intuit like they're upset because of this. Like, but like with our relationship, I feel like there's so many other variables.
Yeah.
It's like matching clothes. Like it's raining out. This is not athletic. The bottom's dressy. Like there's just so many variables that I have no clue what I'm doing. Don't laugh so hard on camera, please.
It's like matching clothes. And so people are like, what are you talking about?
That's later in the personality
It's
test.
so hard.
And I remember in our relationship, like I would constantly ask you, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure if like, did I say something wrong? Did I
Yeah.
bother you? Like, and there was times when you weren't okay.
Yeah.
And because of your agreeableness, you wouldn't tell me
Yes.
that you were upset. So like,
So I didn't want to start a fight.
so my fishing was not unwarranted.
Okay.
But let's see. All right, virtues and faults as a couple. So this is what it says about the good things that we have because we are different in agreeableness, and then the things we need to work on.
Okay. First paragraph.
I think.
Okay. You will generally. I didn't know if there was a.
I don't know.
Something
I didn't
you
highlight. I
really-
highlighted one time, and I was like, "This is too much."
Done. You will generally be able to stand up to each other when you disagree, and should both be able to put your point forward and to listen well enough so that the negotiating with each other won't be too much of a problem.
That's accurate, right?
I think we've learned that more and more. But yeah, I would say, yeah, sometimes I would try to run away from a fight, but eventually we would always.
That's what
get
marriage
to the
does.
conflict.
Keeps her in that. Sorry, I'm kidding. I love you. I love you. I'm just joking.
All right, again, this is yours.
It's a free choice.
So since Renzo is lower in agreeableness, this may be a bit easier for Renzo than it is for me. You will take turns leading and following, although you will tend to lead a bit more often than you follow.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's not read this one.
Why?
It's intimate.
But I think it's kind of...
No.
I think this is the stuff that nobody talks about, and we said that we would say things like this on our podcast. So I can maybe try to...
Fine.
But, okay, so this is also part of
Do
the
it.
couple's part. I think this is what makes this personality test unique.
Yeah.
And a
Okay,
conversation
true.
starter.
Fair.
So
Okay.
I could just read it, and then we could not comment on it if you feel it's too intimate.
Proceed.
Okay.
I can't not joke.
In your sex life together, you will be able to ask for... This is you. You will be able to ask for what you need and to seek your own satisfaction while also serving your partner's needs. Because Renzo's partner is higher in agreeableness, that's me, he or she... Okay.
No, what? Read that again. We're clearly 7 years old.
Because Monica is higher in agreeableness, she may have trouble advocating on her own behalf. She may be tempted to lie about her satisfaction or to fake enjoyment.
Never.
But your partner...
Never. Why?
That never
Unnecessary.
happened in her...
Especially Buzz Lightyear Spanish mode. Unnecessary. Continue. This does not pertain to anybody.
Ole. You should both do your best to communicate your needs either verbally or non-verbally. Otherwise, you could end up resentful or unsatisfied.
Does that mean sign language?
Sí, señor.
Why are you speaking Spanish?
Communicating to Buzz Lightyear.
No, but so it is helpful, I think. But like this would have been helpful if we had gone through this earlier in our marriage
Yes.
to kind of like, okay,
Oh, that's why this is an issue.
yeah, that wasn't real. Oh, now I know why. Like that
Yeah.
could have been a conversation we had, but we didn't because. But what's nice is that 11 years in, like we kind of figured this out.
Yes.
But this would have been a great tool earlier on.
Right. I just think that it's a good. I think this is a good conversation starter to have these things kind of pointed out, and also we always talk about like reading Dr. Schutz and Brene Brown and the therapy in a nutshell lady.
Yes.
Like having terms to be able to like have a common term, to have a common language so that we can talk about the same thing, because sometimes we're talking past each other or we're not understanding one another. But for us to now, we've even said out loud like, oh, this is your agreeableness right now, and so this could help.
I've more boasted about my disagreeableness.
This is true. True. But I think that this is important because this isn't really a you're lying to me, you're keeping something from me, but it's because of the partner's agreeableness that they're trying not to hurt your feelings. So they'll go along with it, and then but the problem with that is eventually you'll be unsatisfied and you haven't advocated for yourself yet. So then you're at a point where you're kind of bitter about it and the other person didn't know.
Right.
So
and that's if you're more agreeable. Like you're more likely to end up resentful about unspoken expectations.
Correct.
And then it says about parenting. What would we be like as parents?
If and when you have children, you will tend to be firm but appropriately caring, while your partner will tend to do too much for them.
It says I'm the perfect parent. Let's just keep going.
I missed that word. Where does it say perfect?
It just.
Oh, okay.
Appropriately caring.
Appropriate. I don't perfect. Okay. In other words.
So, but honestly, though, I feel this is sorry. Joking aside. That was disagreeable.
I have 6% disagreeableness.
Joking aside, though, I don't think you actually do that. You don't tend to care for them too much, right? Like you've and I don't know if it's because like you've been like, I'm a boy mom. I'm a
Right. I have too many children to do that.
Maybe.
Oh, no, I've been that way.
No, you've always been like that. But I feel like you have like very appropriate levels. Like it says here that we will tend towards authoritative parenting, which is characterized by making reasonable demands of the children. I feel like we've both like it says that for me. Sorry, it says that I'll be sorry. Keep reading. I feel like this is inaccurate for you, but keep going.
Okay. You will tend toward an authoritative parenting style, which is characterized by making reasonable demands of your children while being responsive to their needs and wishes. Your partner will tend toward a permissive parenting style, which is characterized by making relatively low demands on your children while being highly responsive to their needs and wishes.
So that's not.
I don't think that's accurate about my parenting
But now,
style.
one thing I would ask you, though, is like, do you feel like your factory settings would have been that, but they're not because of like choices to like, I want to break cycles. I want to, make, I don't know, like be good at things that I didn't grow up with.
Truthfully, I think more my time in the classroom and as a coach.
Interesting.
I was like, I will not have children that are like these kids.
Yeah. Just fine.
Because of
we love
parents.
all our kids. No, but I feel like that's, again, important to, because I think you could go through these tests and feel very pigeonholed and like, oh, is that the way I'm going to be? But like, not necessarily.
No.
Again, you could have been permissive, but you're like, no, I don't want my kids to be this way. They need to have this kind of discipline. Because one of the things I think you and I talk about a lot together is that we're grateful to be parenting with one another because we have a very shared vision of our parenting. More than I think anything else, I think in terms of our relationship, our parenting shared vision is like 100% the same, to the point that like our kids will ask us questions either days apart or like
in different
rooms
like,
and we haven't talked about it, and like, that's what mommy said.
Yeah.
Like,
and we haven't talked about it.
Right.
Like it wasn't like Colby came and asked me this question.
Yep.
Like, this is what I said. What are you going to say? And like, we had no idea that they asked the other person.
Yeah. And it's not that we don't disagree sometimes. Like there's times where the kids will ask me something, and if it's something that I know you've decided on, I'll say I'm not answering that until I talk to your mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's things that like you didn't tell me you decided on, and I decide, and then you're like, oh, I told him differently. I was like, I didn't know. I'm sorry, but
Right.
but I made this call.
Right.
So like, there's times that we don't get things exactly right, but for the most part, they know that we're on the same page. Like they can't really play us, which they try to do, but they can't really.
They fail,
and that's a nice. And I know I have my own things of like I want to do things a certain way.
Yeah.
But for you, it's interesting that like it was the coaching and the teaching that made you.
I think that was I think that's what tipped the scales for me. All right. What else about agreeableness?
Well, now we'll move to what I put as 1B. So within agreeableness, again, there's compassion, which we both scored very similarly on.
Mm-hmm.
We're both in the 90s for that. And then another aspect that makes up agreeableness is politeness.
Yep.
So in politeness, again, which is part of agreeableness, and this is where we differ the most, I scored in the 9th percentile. And
say that again?
In the 9th percentile. I'm 9.
Single digit.
Yes. 9 percentile worth of politeness. Which, again, I think people would be like, not Renzo. He's so polite.
And I have 89th percentile.
Look at that. So nice.
So nice.
So nice. So nice and kind. So it says, you are low in the aspect of politeness. That means you are unlikely to be obedient or deferential to authority. You may be very respectful, thank you, but only to those who earn it. Not me. Oh, man. I have so many issues. I struggle.
Do you read that and you're like,
yeah.
Boom.
Like, why are you in my house? Yeah, no, that's me. I struggle. Yeah. And like, that's me. And I wonder, it's
like the switch happens when you find some reason to not respect somebody.
Yeah. And
then you just are so short.
Stop. Don't give away my secrets. I struggle.
But you're like, one word answers. Yep.
But
and
like,
if they're in a place of authority, you'll still do what they say, but you're like not as enthusiastic about it.
It's wonderful though that I don't have to struggle with that at work.
Yes.
Like I don't have that issue. Because but like I've had situations at work where
Yep.
And it's again, it's a thing I feel like I can't turn off. Like I don't have as much control over that as I might over. Like I have control over how I'll speak to them, like obviously, but like I can't feel like I respect you enough to trust the way you're leading.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
yeah.
When
so you'll like, I'll do my job.
I'll quit my job. And then I go find a different job. Like I struggle when that's the case. And so I struggle with that. I struggle with that at home in that. Sorry. So if you keep reading, so beyond that, you are likely to be willing to push back against someone when you are challenged. True. You're more comfortable than the average with confrontation, and may even enjoy it. I haven't read this one. Yeah. I like debates. I enjoy debates.
Yes, we would have a conflict, and like we would come to a resolution, and it would be like we would work through something, and then I'd be like wiped and still kind of like hurt or like emotional about it, and you're all like amped up. You're like, I loved that. That was great. And I'm like, how?
Yeah. I like debate. I like disagreement. Again, that's why I like. Yeah, so like at work, it's good because like that's where you be collaborative and you can push back whatever. But
I thought, sorry to digress a little bit, but I thought the recent John Acuff reel about the 3 things that teams need to be successful was so good. That was one of them, that like you have to be willing to challenge one another because otherwise you'll never grow. And I kept thinking about your team at work. It was something about ask questions, willing to ask questions,
learn together or something.
I think willing to challenge so that you could learn together, and then willingness to fail. So that like you're willing to try new things and it not go well, but that's like where the potential comes. And I was like, that sounds like your work team now. So.
Well, it's interesting. Sorry, because as I'm reading this, I also remember she's still a friend of ours.
No, she's not.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. So she's a friend of ours.
The way you introduced her is so weird.
I'm not talking to people. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Well, because I disagreed with her so much. But I remember there was a friend of ours that would come visit, and we would always end up debating about some aspect of the faith.
Yes,
do you remember what I'm talking about? Like deep into the night.
Yes.
And I used to love that.
And I'd fall asleep.
You'd fall asleep. We're still debating. We're still debating. and like it wasn't like we're having a conversation, like we were still debating a thing. And
Yeah.
like I remember loving that. And it's so interesting because like I think recognizing in yourself like I enjoy that,
Yeah.
but like again, realizing that those things that you enjoy don't necessarily have to be something that your partner
Yeah.
can do all the time,
Yeah.
because like it's a very superfluous thing. Like it's like debate's fun,
Yeah.
but like I can also just watch debate on YouTube. Like it doesn't, like in terms of like building a relationship, like they don't have to check every box because every box isn't necessary.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not a,
Yeah.
like it's a
You can
fun
get
thing
your
to do with
fill. So
friends,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
don't need your partner to be the like, oh
Yeah.
man, she doesn't like debates, I can't.
Well, and you know what's funny is like I think that you do a good job of separating the person from the debate.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I can just debate this topic and it has nothing to do with the person. And for me, I'm like, when we're debating, I'm like emotionally invested. Like
Yeah.
there's an interrelational element to this, and that doesn't cross your mind.
No.
You're like, no, this is intellectual,
Yeah.
this versus that. So I think that's a little bit of where we have a difference
Mm.
in that. And I think, I don't know, yeah, just recognizing that my feelings could get hurt in a debate.
Sure.
And it used to be like, why are your feelings getting hurt? We're just disagreeing on a topic. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but I'm a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
But I think but like still to my point that, so like because I enjoy that doesn't mean that like that's a deal breaker for a relationship,
sure.
right? Because I again, because the reason we're having this conversation so that people can so you can have conversations about your compatibility with
Yeah.
your significant other, hopefully your spouse, fiance, or the person you're dating. But like those, like being recognizing like this is a, again, like this is a part of agreeableness, and like this is a part of your personality.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be a thing that like because you're this way I can't.
Yeah.
Now, if I desired debate so badly that I constantly found things to disagree with you on, like that's a problem.
Sure.
But I'm high in compassion, so like
there you go.
I
Balance it
love
out.
you. But like yeah. So that's also why I got like my degree in apologetics, because like I
love to argue about the
like
faith.
yes, I like to argue. But so yes.
Yeah.
So now as a couple, read for me as a couple.
Okay, as a couple, because you are low in politeness, you are not likely to be obedient or differential to authority. Because your partner is high in politeness, she is likely to be very differential to authority and highly obedient, particularly if also low in assertiveness, an aspect of extroversion. So that's another one of the categories. You may get in trouble from time to time, but your partner is not likely to do so. You'll be okay.
Like us in high school.
Yes. You will be comfortable confronting others, including your partner. Your partner is likely to be very non-confrontational and conflict averse. You risk being more confrontational than necessary, but your partner's tendencies may help balance you out. Your partner will be respectful of others, including authority figures. Your partner will respect social norms more than you. You will tend to question them, especially if you are high in openness,
which I am,
to experience, or high in assertiveness, also an aspect of extroversion. You are likely to be fairly skeptical while your partner is more naive. You will want to fill a more dominant behavior role, again, particularly if you are high in assertiveness, while your partner will be more submissive, unless he or she is assertive as well.
You are very assertive. What do you think about that? About me, it's saying that I'm more skeptical of things, which I am. But then it seems like the contrast is more naive. Would you categorize yourself as naive?
Relationally, yeah.
Really?
My impulse is to just trust people when they say things and do things.
Really?
Until they prove otherwise. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like I find myself to be an intelligent person. Like I think I learn well and I know I know important things, but when it comes to relationships, I would call myself naive.
That's funny because
I assume the best in everybody.
Because we see this in our kids too. Like I know, yes, we know which ones.
Yeah,
like they're great, handsome and strong, and like, nope, you're such a nice boy.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that for me.
Yes,
handsome and strong.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And I like you've taught me a lot. You've taught me a lot on not being so naive. So I think I don't put myself in dangerous situations now because of. So for example, like in traveling and like how to hold my bag and like I don't know, just what things
Well,
to
because
do
yeah,
when
like
you
that study that I think I heard it from Jocko Willink that like they took, um, they recorded, researchers recorded people walking, and then they took that footage to prisoners and had them assess who they were more likely to assault,
yeah.
to rob them, and almost like I think it was like 97% of them picked the same people. And it
Mm,
was based on their stride and based on like just
yeah.
how they were walking.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad, and like my dad didn't show me exactly how to walk, but he was very big on like the way you hold yourself makes a big difference.
Yep.
The way you like observe as you're walking makes a big difference.
Yep. And like you teaching me like where to park and how to like I don't know, how to behave in restaurants and like just different things. I feel like you've taught me a lot
It makes me seem
in
neurotic.
safety.
Sorry.
You are a little bit neurotic, but it's taught me a lot. And then even in relationships, like I think that I would be more forgiving is the wrong word, like you're all supposed to forgive, but forgiving it to the sense of like, okay, then boundaries are all gone again. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, they haven't proven that
Mm.
they deserve access to you like that.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's been good, but that was learned for
Well, yeah,
sure.
and just
So
even
I
like
think my factory setting
yeah,
is naive
well, just even like
relationally.
the set like setting boundaries to me comes very easy,
Oof, so hard for me.
right? Which is
It's like an active thought.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where and I've had to like there's boundaries I've set that I've had to like okay I don't have to set this boundary anymore, which is
Mm-hmm.
like very hard for me to do
Yeah, I
because I
can
quickly
release
jump
that
back
a
to
little
it.
bit. Sure.
But
Mm-hmm.
even like so even that's something worth assessing, especially when you and your significant other are talking about how you're going to handle like your family of origin and
Mm-hmm.
friendships, because if you both look at boundaries or even see that like one of you might be like this is necessary boundaries, the other is like there's no reason to have those at
Yeah.
all, like I think that could be a discussion that can avoid a lot of fights down the
Yes.
road because you're already on the same page, recognizing you're coming from two different perspectives.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
So the other personality, let's see, how far into this are we? Whoa, where's the screen? There you are. So the other
Category.
category of the big five that we're going to go over is conscientiousness. This is another one. The reason I picked this one too is because this is another one that we
The
defer.
scores are
We're
very
just
different.
very different. And if we had read this sooner, I think it would have. Like the ADHD thing is part of the discussion
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, this would have been nice to know beforehand. I don't know. Actually, I wonder if
Maybe
you had
not.
read this beforehand. I'm like, I wonder if she would have not wanted to marry me because like this just paints a very bleak picture of like what Renzo's going to be like as a husband. With that in mind,
Yes.
can you define conscientiousness for us?
Conscientiousness is a big five personality trait associated with attention to detail, hard work, persistence, and orderliness, as well as adherence to rules, standards, and processes. Conscientious people are careful, reliable, organized, self disciplined, and persevering. Unconscientious people tend to be more laid back, less orderly, more inconsistent, and less reliable. They are more likely to procrastinate and are less likely to persist when pursuing their goals.
And drum roll, Monica, what is your percentile for conscientiousness?
96th percentile.
And what is Renzo's?
Do you want to say it?
I'm in the 7th percentile for conscientiousness. So that is 7th percentile for attention to detail, hard work, persistence, orderliness, and adherence to rules, standards, and processes.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, so I want to. We got
Give me a little grace.
Yeah, no, not good.
Who are you?
I can't
to give
dispense
You can't
grace.
dispense grace.
Mediatrics of grace. I can't do that. But no, I want to give you some credit where credit is due, and also kind of comment on. We got some pushback a few episodes ago about like men and practice of chastity, practicing of virtue, practicing of discipline, and like this is why you harp on it. This is why you talk about it so much.
Because I am a disaster.
Because in your factory setting, you have almost none.
Yes.
And it's all been learned, it's all been practiced, and it's all been through grace that you have the discipline that you have today.
Yeah.
And so, yes, this was a huge problem in our marriage when we first got married.
But I can't even believe you dated me. Not trying to be funny, like and or like self-deprecating, because like again, we're talking about factory settings. Like
Yeah.
I I know how lazy I was, and I don't think lazy is the right term, because like that assumes that everything is as like it's is as easy to choose to not do as it is to do. And I
Hmm.
think that's not the case. Like it's not like a 50-50 choice. It's definitely like I'm definitely pushed
Do anything.
to do nothing. Right. I feel
Oh,
like I
sorry.
feel like my factory settings are like there's it's much easier to do nothing than it is to do anything. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what you meant. Um
Yes.
and yeah, so like I just in dating, I know I was a very different person than I am now. Like looking back at the beginning of our marriage or engagement, I know that the way I am now is remarkably different, and I don't know how to express without just sounding hyperbolic
You've never sound hyperbolic.
how everything that I do is 100% a active choice, free choice, but immensely difficult.
Hmm.
Like it is not easy to do these things. Anything, choose the thing that I do. Parent my kids, not easy.
Yeah.
Love my wife, not easy. I would much rather like, and this kind of lays it out, but like I would much rather just sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
And I used to, that's what I used to do
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So why'd you date me? Because I was so charming.
So charming.
I was funny.
You are very witty. I why did I date you? There's a lot of reasons why I dated you. I knew though that like when it came to the important things, you would do the right thing.
Did
And
you
that
though?
I did.
That's good.
And I knew that you would put me first all the
Well,
time.
that's actually something I think I've talked about at guys
You're
talks
quite
before.
smitten with me.
I've talked about that at guys talks before, how like that is a huge, like being in love was probably one of the first things that like I want to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then like then there's the conversion and Jesus and that too. But like I first wanted to
It
date
was
you
me
before I
first.
wanted to date Jesus. And like that was one of those like and like silly things like I want to get in shape. I was a lot of different shapes in high school and college, but like
What shape did you want to get
I was,
into?
but like little things like that, like wanting to be with you was and date you was one of the things that like started motivating me to like, okay, I can be a little different. She gets really good grades, maybe I can work a little harder in school. And so like yeah, so that started
Hmm.
that process. But yeah, like it's not, yeah, I sympathize um and empathize with a lot of the guys that might feel that are similarly in conscientiousness, like they have no factory settings for it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's where they have to stay,
Yeah.
because I do think I don't know how you could be low in conscientiousness and then also be a good husband and father. Like I don't think I
You
could
can't
be.
stay there.
No,
Yeah.
like if I stayed in where my factory settings put me, like I would not. I would be such a bum, and I'm sorry if that's like offensive to some people, but I know I would be.
Yeah. And we parent a few kids that have low conscientiousness.
Yes.
And we talk to them about like you remind them all the time
Mm-hmm.
that you're like, I don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll say, like, I don't want to do it. Like their default too would be to not do anything.
And just stay home.
And they would just stay home. Even if it's a thing that they love.
Mm-hmm.
Like once they get there, they enjoy it and they love it. But like they don't want to do it.
Right.
Because it requires the effort to go and do. And
Mm-hmm.
like they don't have that. And that's like,
And you're never gonna have it. Like you're
yes.
never gonna have the thing, the drive. You
Yes.
think you're gonna. Oh, once I get to a point, it's gonna be a habit. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You're still not gonna
No,
want to do it.
it's still hard. And then like they look at our other kids.
Mm-hmm.
We have our oldest is conscientious and like will
Like
say
his
yes to
mother.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his like, can you go do this? Yeah. Do you want to go do it? Absolutely. You like, and he'll say yes to everything and do it with full effort.
Mm-hmm.
And like conscientious, unless he's tired, then he is. Man, he has lost all conscience. Anyway, so they see him and they're like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
So we try to really articulate that, like, just because you don't have that doesn't mean you can't do it.
True. Yeah.
And we really try so that when they're an adult, they already have that mantra in their head that, like, just because I don't want to, it doesn't mean I can't.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what Jordan Peterson has to say about us as a couple.
Okay. As a couple, you are low in conscientiousness and your partner is very high in conscientiousness. This means the two of you have significantly different strategies for dealing with the world, which can be beneficial for you as a couple. However, this may present a challenge within your relationship because you may have trouble understanding one another at times. You'll have to be careful to avoid the pitfalls of your respective personality traits. You and your partner are significantly different. Okay. You will sometimes find it difficult to understand each other's drives and motivations and what you find important. You will sometimes disagree on the best course of action in a particular situation. You will also differ in your drive for achievements and ambition and in how disturbed you are by disorder and chaos. With the partner lowering conscientiousness, much less bothered.
Is that true?
If you could see our bedroom.
Not just our bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
Our children, our home.
But I feel like our bedroom is the clearest image of that is a choice for me to let it go.
Look at you growing. Look at you
growing. The two of you disagree about how carefully, quickly, and effectively household tasks need to be done. You may.
I'm so sorry.
You may find.
But I'm getting up in the morning to go to jiu-jitsu.
Right. So the household stuff still doesn't get done because you're at jiu-jitsu. You may find you have very different lifestyles, and you may also have trouble dividing the household labor fairly if your standards do not line up. This will present a problem in your relationship in accordance with the strength of the difference. You can use your differences.
Wait, can you talk about that? Household labor and delivery. No, just household labor.
We used to argue a lot about, like, why do you have to feel like you have to be productive all the time? Mm-hmm. Why can't you just sit? And I would sit and be like, because everything is screaming at me to be put away. Like, it's hard for me to relax in mess and disorder, and you don't have an issue with that at all. So we've both had to grow in this area. Sometimes I do just need to chill because no matter how much I work, this house will never be orderly with the humans that live here, and the stuff that we have and the schedule that we have. But also you have absolutely, like, agreed that if I have something on a list, you're like, okay, you can't add to the list, but we'll work on that list so that you can feel better that that list is accomplished, and you'll help accomplish that list.
Yeah. Well, I've also tried to be better about, and this is like, I'm still not positive on like how like ADHD falls into this, but I've also tried to, like, if I see a mess, I'll try to clean it, even if it's not on the list or something I was thinking about doing. But like, if I see it, I'll do it. If I don't see it, I'm not doing it. Like, yes. Does that make sense? Like, it's not because I'm ignoring it.
What you don't see, but yes.
Is it in there? No, but like I've tried to and again, because that's a choice of like right, I actively don't.
I don't want to do it.
No. Yeah. Well, also I don't see the mess. I don't, like, so like I have
when
to
you see it, you acknowledge it and you do something.
Like in Ben today. Did you see with the oats?
Yes, you vacuumed the oats.
Oh, I vacuumed up because he decided to pour a whole thing of oats.
He tried to make oatmeal for himself.
Yes, and just poured everything.
This is me not doing anything for him, though. He said he wanted a snack, and I said, go get it for yourself.
Yep.
And so then he wanted to make oatmeal.
Conscientious little boy.
That's right. Okay, but you can use your differences to your advantage, each helping one another to develop the virtues of the opposite trait.
Which is like, that's, again, in terms of a compatibility, looking at it with your spouse, fiance, or dating partner, like we are so different, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't be together. But I think we both have to be willing to see the benefit of being like the other, so that we can kind of adopt some of those things. But it has to go both ways. Like, it can't just be, I have to be more like you.
Yes.
Because I do think you gain a lot in your soul by just chilling with me.
I do.
So that's just,
we watch our midday TV on the weekend.
Yes. But like, it took a lot to get to that point. And then I know that I have to support you, and I have to just be more aware of what's happening around the house. And also be willing to, like, okay, she's cleaning. I'm not going to be like, hey, let's just relax. Like, I will be like, oh, how can I help? Or like try to find a thing to like support in.
Yes.
Or just be like, babe, mass not till 9:30 today.
We are ready for 9:00 mass today. Yeah. And mass was not until 9:30. That was nice. That was a surprise.
Yep.
Because daily mass at 9.
All right. So our behavioral roles. Oops.
Okay. You are significantly lower in conscientiousness than your partner. You will tend to see your partner as rigid, judgmental, obsessive, and overly hardworking at times. Your partner will tend to see you as lazy, messy, and careless at times.
And was that true early in marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yep.
Definitely the overly hardworking of like, why are you cleaning?
Yeah.
And who's coming over? And or I used to argue, be like, they have to see how we live. Now I would never do that. Now I'm like, no, people can't see this. But I remember earlier, I'd be like, it doesn't matter. We live. Also, we only had 2 cats. We didn't have 5 children.
5 children and a dog, and yeah, busy schedule. All right. Your partner will be much more orderly, industrious, ambitious, work oriented, driven, efficient, and prone to failure related shame and guilt than you will be.
So look at that.
Woo-hoo. Your partner will be more likely to succeed in their work or educational pursuits than you are. You will be less likely to obsess about small detail, work to the exclusion of all else, and to be overcome with ambition.
So I feel like that's not accurate.
Why?
I'm plenty ambitious.
I'm just pulling out the Renzo Y card.
Oh, okay. I was like, isn't it obvious? Look at all this.
Why?
Look at all this.
Yes.
So like I think it and like or to work to the exclusion of all else, like that happens a lot. Like I get so stuck in work that I forget
Yes.
everything else happening.
But you know what's interesting is that I think when it comes to creative work, you like that.
Yes.
But if it comes to
Never writing a paper again.
that's not true. You write for your job.
Oh, but that's like creative work, not
Yeah.
a paper. A paper is different.
Not an assigned task
Yes.
that I don't care about.
I just make things up. Sorry. Keep going.
But I think that like when it comes to like for example the chicken coop,
Yes.
0% wanted to do any of that.
Yeah.
That was like an active choice. But you were like, I know my wife really wants it, so I do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But like, so I think that like, yeah, when you're creative, buttons get pressed.
But the overcome within but it's not just that. Like there was times with the chicken coop that I was like, I'm gonna see how long I could dig before my hands start hurting.
Yeah.
And then just like, or like I gave myself, it's like what, 90 minutes. I'm like, I want to see if I can get to like this point.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, I guess, and maybe again, so like this, I don't know if like,
setting
I feel like sometimes like ADHD can help with overcoming some of this. Cause like I have, like there would be times where I got lost in the digging, which just sounds so stupid. Like I got lost in digging and wheelbarrowing and like, how much can I fill the wheelbarrow with and then carried over? Like I got stuck in that. I bored you, but, but I got stuck in that I was able to do more than I normally would.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
fair.
But also like it wasn't straight, so the attention to detail wasn't there. Right.
It wasn't straight.
My partner, you are much higher sensitivity and lower threshold for cleaning. Wait. Oh yeah, you will have a lower threshold for cleaning, tidying, and organizing that. What? Am I reading this wrong?
Your partner will have a much higher sensitivity and lower threshold
for cleaning, tidying, and organizing than you will. Oh,
yes.
Okay. This could mean that your partner does all of this type of work since they are more sensitive to it. Sorry. You will have to take care to divide the household's chores fairly. Your partner is a lot more likely to want to do something productive or cleaning up and tidying, organizing rather than relaxing. So true.
It's like we just
but like
said
that's
all this.
but that should have been like I don't even think we talked about that before we got married.
No.
Though. Like there was not even a discussion about like
no.
How do you spend time? Because we didn't. I don't know if we were in I don't know. Should I have known that? Like, should we have known that about each other before?
I don't know. We both lived with our parents.
Yeah.
So, like, I think a lot of.
No, but you lived in an apartment by yourself for a while.
For 6 months.
And you cleaned it. I should have seen. It's not messy.
That's true. Yeah, and cooked and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like we lived with our parents very, very close up to getting married.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of that was still just within our family culture. Like, when I lived at home, I didn't have to cook every meal because.
But so is that something that couples should do before they get married then is have even, I don't know, like we tell them to have discussions about household chores, but I even think like having discussions about how important is it to clean up a mess.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like wording a discussion. This could even be something for the pre-K we do, but like wording the problem differently more than like who's going to take the garbage out, who's going to.
Sure.
Right. Because if a person is bothered by mess, the other person is literally
like the question is like, can you relax when a room is messy?
That's great. Write it down. But like that's a great question. Because yes, I can. Well, it depends what the mess. If something's wet, I don't like it. That bothers me.
When my socks are damp.
I cannot.
I know you can't. I've met you.
And if it's wet and there's a potential for me to step in that later, I can't. Sorry.
Can't do that.
Nope. All right, last thing, the faults and virtues of as a couple.
Okay. And this is still just in conscientiousness?
Just conscientiousness.
Okay. The two of you differ quite a lot in how hard you like to work and how clean you like to keep things. I feel like this is a lot of...
The introductions are the same.
Okay. Your partner may have a hard time loosening up enough to let something creative, messy, or new happen.
Like when I want to cook something.
Oh, and then you leave everything out.
But like, listen, that's how the magic...
Clean
and even with our children,
go.
that's not the thing. It is
I
the
know.
thing. My grandma used to call me the hurricane. I used to hate it.
But in Spanish.
Yes, huracán.
There we go.
I don't even know what a hurricane is in Spanish, but that's how she said it. But yeah, so like that's where the create, like I do think I'm more creative. But even like, so I joked about like the lighting in this, but like to get this to happen took a lot of failure.
Yeah.
And a lot of like, I need to figure, and leaving everything out. I wonder if you could see the box. But like leaving just things out and just like making messes.
Yes.
In order to make the podcast happen.
I know. And then you scolded me for cleaning them up the other day, but I was like, people are coming with little children. We have to put the expensive equipment away.
But it took like 20 extra minutes to put this back up. Just like,
okay.
You know, my time's valuable, but it's okay. I'm kidding.
As is the stuff that they will all touch.
True.
All right. Where did I go? She may feel prisoner to rigid routine and habit. You can help your partner by encouraging them to loosen up from time to time, as well as to relax. You can help your partner feel like he or she can relax by contributing your fair share around the house and staying on top of things.
That's important. Should have read that 8 years ago.
Not just saying, just sit down, it's fine. We could do it later.
Yep. Nope.
It's both and. All right. You might have the tendency to let a task slide until you get into trouble.
This is good for you to think about the kids too.
Sometimes it will... Oh my gosh. John Paul with his orange peels. Sometimes it will
Oh my gosh, he puts them everywhere on the windowsill. They just pile up. Sorry, keep going.
Sometimes it will be your partner with whom you are in trouble, and this dynamic is not good for the relationship. Your partner can help you by encouraging you to work hard, apply yourself, and learn some discipline. You can help yourself by making and sticking to a schedule.
False. Instead of your partner, should say David Goggins can help you by encouraging you to work hard, apply yourself, and learn some discipline.
Oh, that new podcast, that new episode with
Huberman.
It's good stuff. All right. Conscientiousness predicts marital...
This is interesting.
Okay. Conscientiousness predicts...
Sorry, I interrupted you. I just did it again. Sorry. What is it? What does it predict?
Conscientiousness predicts marital stability and a low likelihood of divorce. Since you are low or very low in conscientiousness, you may be predisposed to have a less stable marriage and to experience divorce.
Well, that's...
Joke's on me, because your partner, however, is unlikely to engage in behaviors that increase the likelihood of these outcomes. Part of this is owing to the fact that conscientious people are concerned with maintaining their relationship and they feel guilty when they hurt their partner or the relationship. You may be able to improve the stability of your relationship by having a regular conversation with your romantic partner. Low conscientiousness predicts infidelity in a relationship, although many other traits and personal choices affect this behavior as well.
So I am not a good mate.
This is just one aspect of who you are.
But again, back to what we were saying earlier of like, if you are, again, and I think people should take this test because with your significant other, I think it'll help a lot with having these discussions. But if you know you're low in conscientiousness, I don't think anybody wants to hear like, you're more likely to get divorced. Like, no, I'm not. I'm Catholic, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you're low in conscientiousness and you're prone to these behaviors and you're not doing anything to avoid those behaviors, the behaviors will naturally lead to this outcome.
Instability in your marriage. So like you might not get divorced, but like if your relationship is unstable, that's not your goal.
Right. So like, or even like, so like, we've talked about sex the last 3 episodes, so I don't want to do it again. But like low conscientiousness predicts infidelity. So we could even word that as like, if you're low in conscientiousness, you're less likely to have the virtue of chastity.
Yeah.
So that should be something you're so focused on. And by cleaning up all the other things around your life, it makes it easier to acquire that virtue. And then by grace, you can, could perfect it. But I think just being aware of, like, again, these are your factory settings. This is what you need to work on. Like, your weaknesses are here. So in the same way that, like, you could say, like, you're high in conscientiousness, you need to be careful with, like, feeling shame for not being able to complete things. And
Yep.
like, there's not saying it's just all on me. I think mine, I'm more sensitive to it because, like, I've had to live with it. So, like, I have to get better at this stuff.
But I mean, so going to that, like, conscientiousness, that, like, my identity is not based on how much I produce. Like, my worth is not based on how clean my house is.
Yep.
And also that I probably have a tendency towards nagging instead of just, like, writing a list or asking because it's important to me, but not to you. I could fall into a trap of like putting you down or constantly be bothering you, and not not in a nice way, not in a call you up way, but
Sure.
yeah.
Well, and I think that's why that call you up is so important to you. Again, I think we're passionate about the areas of our lives that we are not strong in.
Yes.
Or that we've had to work to get strong in. So, like, I think I tend to harp a lot on our show about whenever it comes to, like, men and not living up to their roles as husband and father, I tend to be very harsh on them because I've had to be harsh on myself. And I'm assuming most of those guys are low in conscientiousness, just like me. Again, like, I'm one of you. And because of that, like, we need to really buck up and start picking up on these areas that we're weak in. And it starts with discipline. Like, I think that's a reason why Jocko Willing and those personalities have gotten so popular, is because guys, they've been looking for, like, the self-help things that'll get them out of bed.
Yeah.
And they don't know what it is. And
like, there's there's not a thing that's going to motivate you.
No,
it's not going to be something that sparks you and then, like, yes, now I'm motivated to do it. You talk about, like, I just do it because I have to. I don't like it. I don't want to. It's awful every time. But I have to do it for the stability of my marriage, my relationship.
Yep.
Okay.
So again, like we said, these are factory settings. This is not saying this is exactly what you're going to be forever.
Yep. So some of the other, it keeps kind of talking about cleanliness and stuff like that, but also about pursuing career goals, possibly, like, more responsible with money. Conscientious people are more likely to be responsible with money, but also be more likely to feel guilty about inappropriate spending and saving habits. So yeah, this can go into, like, the financial area of your life as well. So just to be aware of that.
So funny. There's so much more we only did, like, there's more, but I'm like, we don't have time.
We've done an hour.
So I think to close though, I think it's super important that you start having the right conversations if you're dating with the person you're dating, if you're engaged with your fiance, and if you're married, like, you need to have the correct conversations, not not think just because you're talking about chores that you're having the right conversation.
Sure.
Similar to, like, do you remember the basketball camps we used to go to when we were little, and they'd say, like, practices make perfect practice makes perfect. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So, like, you say practice makes progress.
Yes.
Whatever. But, like, my point being more of, like, if you want your marriage to improve in these areas, like, I think having the correct conversation, not just having any conversation, is important.
And this is a really great tool for having the same vocabulary when having these conversations. So we're talking about the same thing, and we can refer back to this so that if it seems like one person is not following, or you're both talking about two different things, then you can refer to this as a way of, again, not being stuck in a certain role or a certain disposition, but to have the same language, and to also just be like, oh, that's why this is a point of contention. Like, oh, this is why we're fighting about this.
This is why you're the way you are.
Because we're, like, coming at it from completely different places. And what is the happy middle?
Yep.
Right? Like, is there room for improvement? And that's what that I like, that this is a really, like, hopeful test. This isn't a, like, compatibility test of, like, you're doomed, but it's really because your factory settings are this, here's areas of growth for both of you. Again, it's not, one's not right or wrong either. Because high conscientiousness is, like, obsessive and compulsive.
So in terms of your compatibility, I think a lot depends on how much you're willing to put in the work. because I don't think any two people are perfectly compatible. Even if this person that we haven't even talked about like marrying the one, but even if this person is the one that you're going to marry and then the one you're going to spend your rest of your life with, that doesn't automatically make you compatible.
Yes.
I don't think anything does, but working at it and having the right conversations and even understanding like your factory settings. So yeah.
Can you show off a little Spanish Buzz Lightyear?
Nope. That's
Just for
only
me.
that is
Just for
special.
me. Okay.
So, but thank you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting the show and listening to our conversations. If you are watching us on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, do all three so that we are showing up in the algorithm. And then if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a comment on Apple. And anything else?
I think that's it.
And we'll see you at the next episode.